Hello, good morning, my lovely LinkedIn family. I hope you're well. Hamas Siddiqui, uh, back with a very exciting live session today. And it's about LinkedIn. Let's talk LinkedIn. And today I have uh, an expert, quote unquote, an expert who has actually um done a lot on LinkedIn over a period of time. And I would like to learn from him as to how he grew himself from a corporate career into a more business career. I mean, he's worked for like major companies like National Power, I think Range Rover also. Uh, and now he is a full time consultant in communication and he is doing well. So, and one more thing, he is from Scotland. I had few bosses in the past from Scotland, lovely people. So without any further ado, I am bringing Duncan Strachan from the UK on live. Here you go. Hello, Duncan. Good
Hi, Hamad. How you
evening.
doing?
I am fine. Good afternoon at your place, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. It's around 2 o'clock here, so
Yes.
yeah, different time of day, but good.
Right. So 10 a.m. in Toronto, east of Canada. Uh, Overcast sky. As South Asians and Britishers, we play cricket a lot. Overcast sky means a lot to us, right? We can swing the ball both sides in overcast sky. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure if you're a cricket fan or not.
more football. Football is more
More,
my thing.
right.
It's a Scottish name, but I was
Yes.
actually born in Liverpool. You won't be able to tell
All
from the
right.
accent, but I'm a Liverpool fan, so a lot of people will
Uh,
probably leave the chat right now. But yeah, I thought I'd get that out of the way, despite the blue jumper.
yeah. Liverpool is a great team. Yeah. And so these like three major games in South Asia. It's hockey, like field hockey, cricket, and football. Football is like gaining momentum, but it's more like a European game still because it requires different weather conditions, like more cooler environment as compared to what we have in South Asia, which can go up to 45 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, yeah. So Duncan, first of all, thank you very much
No,
for
pleasure.
joining in.
Thanks for having me on.
And I would also like to welcome everyone who is joining in from Facebook, from LinkedIn, as well as from YouTube. This broadcast is going in three different locations. It's Facebook, as well as YouTube, and as well as my LinkedIn. So please comment, whoever is joining in. I would love to recognize you, and I hope you're going to learn tons of things today because this is all about growing from zero to hero kind of a situation, as I call it. Uh, and Duncan has done a lot. Uh, and he is doing a lot of research. That's the main thing. So a lot of people claim that they know a lot, but those who do research know a little bit more. So that little bit more is really important for me and for everybody who's in this session. So, Duncan, a very brief about you. I mean, how did you start your career and what you were doing before actually starting this new journey in your
Yeah,
life?
yeah,
And while
absolutely.
you say that, I'll start recognizing people who are joining us
Yeah,
by showing
sure.
their name on the screen. So please go ahead.
Great stuff. No, well, I've got an 18-year marketing career, and about 12 years of that career started on the kind of permanent side of my career. So the career really breaks down into three distinct chapters. So 12 years on the permanent side. Then I became a contract marketer, and I was doing that for 6 years. And through that, I got involved with some really high-profile brands here in the UK. So I've worked for Barclays a couple of times, of Jaguar Land Rover, and npower. So a real kind of mix of different sector experience in the last 6 years. And most recently, I was working for a company, McKesson, in the pharmaceutical sector. So it's given me exposure to a load of different industries. I've also worked at the SME end of the market in the UK as well. So I've not just worked in big corporates. So I worked for a bank in Birmingham here called Unity Trust Bank. They're a commercial bank with a social conscience, and they invited me back in the last 6 years as well. So hopefully a good reflection, of the quality of my work. But this latest chapter of my career that I'm now in is launching this pay-as-you-go marketing consultancy and copywriting proposition, and that was really born out of all of the activity that I was doing on LinkedIn, and the engagement that I generated, and that pricked the interest of a couple of businesses who said, would you be interested in doing some short-term marketing consultancy work for us? And the rest, as I say, is history. So where I am now is really trying to build up that pay-as-you-go marketing consultancy business, into something tangible.
Great. So what some of the things that you had done in the past, like, in your past experience, have actually helped you in kind of, conceptualizing this whole new era of your career?
I think in terms of my use of LinkedIn more broadly, I am in an advantageous position, having been a marketer and a copywriter. Obviously, a lot of the power of LinkedIn is through the written word. I think, through my own analysis of the platform, text-based posts do seem to resonate the most and drive the most engagement most consistently. So being able to write in a way that appeals to an audience, is certainly valuable. But I think the other key thing, for me, from my marketing skill set that applied, to the work that I was doing on LinkedIn and the posting strategy was, I've got a very analytical mindset. I'm always keen to understand that whether the time that I'm investing is getting significant kind of return on investment in terms of that kind of engagement that I was drawing in. So I started posting seriously at the end of March 2020, when COVID was really kind of ramping up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think around July time, I realized I need to start tracking the performance of my posts, to really understand what's happening here, to see if there's a test and learn approach I could adopt to refine that strategy and drive wider engagement. So, that's what I did. And I think that would be my advice to everyone, really. If you're posting on LinkedIn and you're doing it to be seen, then tracking the performance of your posts is absolutely vital. And there's a lot of people that use Shield piece of software, I think, to do their analysis. I'm quite old school. All of my analysis is done on one big spreadsheet. So when you're going back through 140 posts that I've done now, around that amount, updating the numbers on the spreadsheet can take quite a bit of time. But I think as with everything in life, the more effort you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Absolutely. And when I work with my client, I always tell them, okay, if you do not have your why are you on LinkedIn, you can't really define your what and how. So I've kind of adopted it from Simon Sinek, his concept of golden circle. You have to have your why in the middle. The nucleus should be your why, and then outer space of how and what will happen automatically. So this is I always coach them, you have to have a reason to be out there. You can, there are 800 million people on LinkedIn. Okay, much smaller than Facebook, but here's the opportunity. On Facebook, you shout and it becomes a noise. On LinkedIn, you can interact on one basis. And this is, my connection with you is the right example of this connectivity. Yeah. We were connected through another third person who I think commented on your post, and I looked at it, I loved it, yeah, and then we got connected, and now we are talking. It's less than a month's time, really. And
it brings everybody together, and I think it's a really powerful tool. Just talking about why I started kind of posting on LinkedIn and the approach that I adopted. I obviously had been in the 6-year contract phase. My contract came to an end prematurely because of COVID, and I was out there in the job market. And I was using LinkedIn the way that I'd historically used it for many years, which was just talking all about me, promoting my skills and experience, and saying, hire me. That was the essence of my content. And I was posting once a week. I didn't want to offend anybody in my network by over posting. So I posted once a week, and it was a pretty standard message. Here I am. Here are all the wonderful places that I've worked. This is my skill set. Please hire me. And that generated no response. So this was kind of unprecedented territory for me. I knew that we were in exceptional circumstance, with the pandemic, but I felt that if I was struggling with all the brands and experience that I had on my CV, there would be other people out there that would be really struggling. So my kind of whole attitude and approach to LinkedIn switched to, how can I help other people on the platform? And that was all born out of my experiences. So being a contractor for the last 6 years, I had a lot of experience of going to interviews, for example. So I thought I've got some tips and techniques that I could share with people. And I did an early video about what to wear for a video interview. And I said, wear a shirt and tie. Well, you can obviously see from this, that my approach has changed. But it was things that at the time were really important. We were going into this kind of lockdown world in the UK, and we were all having to adapt to being kind of in virtual meetings, virtual interviews. So it was things like that that really resonated with people. I had a couple of video interviews early on when I was looking for contract roles, and I just did a video saying, here are 3 questions that came up for me in video interviews and how I answered them. And it was a great way to have a springboard with people and build a discussion. So in terms of my approach to LinkedIn to this point, I guess there hasn't been a huge amount of strategy behind it. I think it's really just about purpose, and my purpose has always been to try and add value and help other people. And I think what I've learned about this last year on LinkedIn is you can have a massive impact. One person can make a difference, and people who are open to work right now, it is an exceptional market. People need support, and it's so easy on LinkedIn to give them that support just by putting a comment on the post to open them up to your network. It's that really is the beauty of LinkedIn, from my perspective in terms of construction, in that if you want to make a difference for someone, it's a relatively low involvement activity to do that. It takes a couple of seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly, this is what it is. People join in LinkedIn. I mean, even now, because you and I regularly are in touch with people. I mean, you have a pretty interesting network. I have a decent enough network too, and a lot of people are not really sure why are they joining, and they think that LinkedIn will automatically help them. The platform will automatically help them if they establish a profile or create a profile there. And often people don't even look at LinkedIn's own help as to how they should move on, how they should create a profile. I mean, they use the automated process, and the automated process, helps you create the profile, and the profile is there. And the profile just sits there forever, and then people start hating it. So I did a small, because I mean, it's again a story around it. Last week, I had a conversation with a potential customer, and so he really wanted to pick my brain as to how his LinkedIn can help him. And he had been on LinkedIn for 6, 7 years. He never received any call from anyone. Nobody ever connected with him. He ever, whatever, like whenever he sent out invites, hardly anybody accepted it. And I gave it a quick review, and I saw what I call as a LinkedIn optimization expert. This is a dormant profile. So LinkedIn is too busy. LinkedIn will only push out profiles that are active. And based on that, we start. Oh, Shahid, how are you? Shahid is a good friend from UK. By the way, he's a publisher. So Duncan, if you really want to publish your ebook, connect with Shahid. He is a great
Superb.
fellow.
No, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And he's an engineer, by the way. He's a software engineer and pivoted into publishing business 2 years ago, and he's doing phenomenally. So he's helping me with some of my publications go digital. So thanks, Shahid, for joining in, and thanks everybody who is there joining in. Glenn, Babar, Stephen, um, uh, Akina, Talha, Taha, Sabrina, uh, Nazibi, Huria. I mean, you are phenomenal. And if you really want to spread this message, I call it, if you really want to send the information out to other people, this is like very valuable information. Please push share button. Whether you're on LinkedIn or you are on Facebook or you're on YouTube, there's a small share button. If you press that share button, you will be able to share this message to your community, the community that follows you, and you will become the beacon. You will become the torch bearer for us, Duncan and myself. So please do that, and uh, help us grow. It will help you grow. And I always tell a bit of deviation, because this is a very informal chat, Duncan. I always tell my client, if you are putting a comment on somebody's comment, you are not actually helping that person, you're helping yourself.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
people see your comment, and if your comment is logical, it is meaningful, people will connect with you. So be out there and be generous in commenting rather than scrolling down the post.
Yeah,
What?
and I think that's the key thing for me as well. I try to maintain the discipline of making 4 or 5 meaningful comments on the people's posts every day, and I think it gets seen. I know in my own newsfeed, I see a lot of posts because people in my network have commented on it. And I think there is a thing that shapes a perception. If someone just puts a comment on saying great post, I get a perception of that person by the way that they've, engaged with other people's content. But if you're genuinely taking the time to invest, and I apply this to everything. So one of the big things that I do, on LinkedIn is try and comment on job seeker posts. So if someone puts what we'd call a flare post up saying that they're available for work, I will, type a message and I'll go into the extent of looking at what kind of job they're looking for and saying, if someone is looking for someone with that skill set in my network, please contact that person. And I think people appreciate the fact that you've gone over and above, just those kind of standard automated responses that LinkedIn keeps trying to offer to us. But I think, they don't really sit well with me. It feels a bit kind of inauthentic, when people do that. But yeah, I certainly think commenting for me is just as important as posting, in terms of kind of building that message. And I think there's a natural inclination when people are in a job search and you have a setback, like you don't land a job at an interview or whatever. Your inclination is to kind of withdraw. So you kind of say, oh, I'm not going to post on LinkedIn today, or I'm not going to support another person who's doing well, if they're celebrating getting a job, because, you just don't feel good within yourself. But you really have to push against that feeling. And you realize that if you get back out there and try and support other people, help other people, you're making yourself more visible. And you'll be known for the right reasons, which, is really the most important thing.
Great. So allow me to thank Salim Patel. He's also from UK, by the way, joining in, and he's pivoting from his previous business into something brand new. So all the best to you, Salim, and I am trying to help him whatever way I can to grow his grow kind of what do you call it? I think it's another stage, but grow his brand on LinkedIn. Um,
Mm.
Adiba, yeah, you're enjoying your aloo ka paratha, potato bread, as we call it, right? Fry or yeah, toasted bread, potato bread, in a very
Sounds
South
good.
Asian thing. Yeah, it's heavy, so yeah, you need some fuel, and we are also giving you some fuel. Thank you very much. And Heather, all right, you're joining in from Albert. So thank you very much. You're absolutely right. So what I always tell is, as soon as you redefine yourself from a bigger pool, in fact, bigger is a small word, huge pool of givers or seekers on LinkedIn, and redefine yourself into a giver.
Yeah,
As soon as you do
absolutely.
that, you differentiate yourself from the crowd, and
Mm.
people start following you because you're a giver. Rest of them are the seekers, right? So this is exactly what you did. This is exactly what I do. This is exactly what I coach my clients. You really need to become a giver. As soon as you become a giver, then you will find that traction. Like people will start looking at you. And I was
Yeah.
coaching someone only. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, and
No, no.
I'll
Well, it was just, I mean, you can probably comment on this as well, Hamad. I think there are two schools of thought when it comes to posting on LinkedIn. And the first school says, be the master of your niche. So whatever you want to be known for professionally, you just post consistently around that topic. And in so doing, if you do that long enough, eventually you'll reach your target customer or client or what have you. My approach has been slightly different in terms of, I'm trying to add value for a broader range of people, and hoping to demonstrate, that obviously I'm a nice person and I want to help other people. And that I've found personally that that's generated the reciprocity and engagement. So when I post about things that are in, deeply personal to me or professionally, important to me, like promoting my pay-as-you-go consultancy business, then the network has been there for me and will help to kind of boost those posts. So I think it really is about that kind of balancing act, but maybe you've got a different take.
No, no. I mean, I fully agree. At the end of the day, people have to trust you. They will do business with you only if they trust you. I think we lost you, Duncan. Yeah, we're back. So
Oh,
people will do business with you if they trust you, and people will trust you only if they know they can help. You can help them. So the
yes.
social media are a very different animal, right? And it's all about building that trust in people. I mean, now that LinkedIn has this feature, you can do live, you can put in videos. previously there was no such feature, so they were only text related things. So with text,
Mm.
anybody can cut and paste from wherever and post there. So it is not the original content that they're posting out. Um, and now people can actually differentiate between original content and original advice, and what I call maybe copycatting or cutting and pasting kind of stuff, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. And if you don't cite that person, then it becomes a bit challenging. But nobody would know. Hardly anybody would know that you have cut it, you have used the content from somewhere else. But that's the authenticity. Your own content and your own words bring in the authenticity. So what I did, I want to share two small stories with you. I did a small video for that person who didn't like LinkedIn and was complaining about it. And I said, if you don't feed your cat will die.
Yeah.
Very simple. If you don't feed your LinkedIn, you have LinkedIn. It's like you've brought in a kitten and the kitten is with you. That's fine, but you are not feeding your kitten. The kitten will die eventually. It's exactly the same thing happens with your LinkedIn. You create a profile is equal to you bringing in kitten. Yeah, you bought a kitten or you adopted a kitten. Now you're not feeding it. You think that kitten will grow automatically and will become a big cat and will start producing more kittens. No, it does not happen that way. You have to feed the kitten, and you have to feed your LinkedIn profile with the content that it is out there. So I did my shortest video, uh, which the title is "I Hate LinkedIn," and that video is really getting a lot of traction. So I've actually posted it twice on my story
Yeah,
in the
I think I
past.
saw it in your stories actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like very small piece of advice for people,
Mm.
uh, and it's thought provoking. So this is how your content has to be thought provoking. And for those who are out there who are just scrolling the content, you're just wasting your time. Identify maybe like 10 people and engage with those 10 people, and be strategic in your engagement. That will actually teach you how to be more strategic. Once you're strategic, then you can actually redefine your strategy going forward. And this is exactly what you did, Duncan. I've been following you for a month now. You actually bring out some exciting videos. So I don't have that capacity still to do that kind of videos. But you are doing like excellent videos. You captured my live with Ayu from Malaysia, and you did an excellent post. So you repurpose the content, but you repurposed it in a manner that it becomes beneficial for other people. So that's what you can do. And only yesterday I was talking to someone, a young fellow, and another LinkedIn enthusiast who was just dishing out a lot of free information. So I asked him, okay, this is fine, you can give as much as you want, but what is your ultimate objective? Do you really want to continue like this, or you want to build it as your business? What is the business sense in doing this? He said, I really want to do business, but nobody gives me any money, right? I've reviewed 500 profiles. I said, and again, I don't want to offend anyone. It's like, as I say, it's a very informal discussion. Uh,
Mm.
uh, and I know you and me cannot offend each other because we are in the same boat, but for other people who are joining me. But believe me, I have learned in my 57 years, 56 years of life, if free has no value. I mean, you get giveaways. You walk into a conference, you collect these goodies, uh, but do you really care about these goodies? Like, come back home, these, your keychains and your wallets and stuff that you collected, it just sits there for a while, and in a year's time, 2 years time, you read everything. So free is good if you really want to keep doing it. People won't appreciate it. A lot of people won't. So I sometimes do free reviews. Um,
Mm.
and this is my testing, the way you test things. This is my testing. I'm giving them time and I'm reviewing their profile to tell them an overview of how their profile looks. Believe
Mm.
me, hardly 5% people would even say thank you to you. Yeah.
No.
So this guy, I was telling, okay, you keep doing it, that's fine, but if you don't put a price tag and build a product You have to build a product first,
Mm.
and then a price tag. Then you will be keep doing it, and nobody will actually get any benefit out of it the way they should. What is your take on this?
Well, I think in terms of giving things out for free, my approach, I do give some stuff out for free. So I've created, through this 8 months of analysing LinkedIn, I created a guide to driving post engagement. I called it Everything I've Learned from Making 100 Posts on LinkedIn. And I started giving that out to new connections. So, what I found in terms of trying to build a relationship with a new connection quickly, if you can surprise and delight that connection with something they actually value, um, you know, then I think that does have real power. And that will encourage people to come back and support your content, because I'm sharing a post. It's a historic post that I've done saying, here's my, 8 months of learning. This is everything that I know about LinkedIn, and I'm giving it to you for nothing. So
Yeah,
in terms of my hit rate, I don't know if it's 10%. It's probably, not much more than that. I hope it's a bit more, maybe 40%, 50%. But I get a lot of people coming back to me going, this is really fantastic. And I
yeah,
think the perception of that is massive, because I think a lot of people will try and get you to buy a guide. I had an exchange with someone. I made a new connection. They were an
mm,
SEO expert, and I sent them my guide to LinkedIn. And this person came back to me and said, I've got a guide. Here you go. And it was a link to a website, and it was a guide to getting leads on LinkedIn or something of that nature.
yeah,
And it was £5, UK pounds. So he wanted me to pay
mm,
£5 for the guide. And he said, I'm limiting this to 200 guides. And the feeling of that, from a new connection, and you've shared something really valuable that you spent a lot of time working
yeah,
on for free, and they're saying, you don't know me at all, but I've got a guide, and you're going to pay £5 to see whether it's any good.
yeah,
Instinctively, whether that guide was the best guide in the world, it turned me off completely, because
yeah,
you just feel that's not the spirit in which I've entered into LinkedIn. And I think maybe it's different for me because I'm not trying to sell LinkedIn consultancy. Maybe I should, who knows? But I'm, a marketing consultant. But I feel like if I can help people to get the most out of LinkedIn, which I think is the one topic that really unites everybody on the platform, then that has real power. And my objective whenever I make a new connection on LinkedIn is to make them see the value of connecting with me and to be liked. So if you do those two things, I think you're on a good start that can lead to further engagement on your posts, which, the aim of the game in the end is visibility and, reaching a wider audience. And I think the more people that you can turn into advocates, of you and what you stand for in your brand, the more visible you're going to be. So I think there is a case for giving away some value, but I think in answer to your point, if it was directly related to what I did professionally, then that probably would be more of a conflict. You would be, you'd have to strike the right balance. But I do think that's the thing about LinkedIn in general. People say, oh, well, I don't want to give away my trade secrets. I don't want to give away my expertise. But in the reality is you're trading that off. People don't want to learn how to do your job through a LinkedIn post. They just want to know that you're a credible source of information in whatever your sphere is. And I think giving people a bit of free guidance can help to build that credibility that says, oh, this guy can prove that he can analyze things, he thinks about things, he's got that, that mindset, and he's discovered a lot of valuable stuff that could help me in my day to day. I'll remember him when I need a marketing consultant. And that's my kind of view on it. So I think free works, but if you give away everything for free constantly, I think that could potentially be an issue.
absolutely. I fully agree. And whatever we are producing, like whatever you are producing on link for LinkedIn, your posts, your videos, like this live going, whatever I am producing, whatever other people are producing, there's tons of people out there who are actually doing some phenomenal work, uh, and encouraging people to do more on LinkedIn and learn from these tips. Uh, so all this content is free, and a lot of research is free also available. Uh, my strategy has always been, and on my website there are tons of free downloadable information, so people can download. Like for instance, over like several months of my research, I created a tool which can, if anybody who really wants to understand, and there are many people who really don't, uh, is my LinkedIn optimized or partially optimized or needs optimization, they can actually use that tool, which is like 85 questions. So you download it, you put in 85 questions, it gives you a dashboard. and exactly in 9 areas as to where you how your performance is. Now, now that's a pay tool. But at the same time, for those people who really don't want to pay me or don't want to invest in that, because not everybody would, there is a smaller tool available also for free, which they can download. And I don't push it. I mean, I sometimes share it on my post, but not on a regular basis. Maybe once in fortnight, I would just share that link if anybody is interested. So I get a lot of downloads for my free stuff, those toolkits that I have on my website. But also I get some people who are interested in going to the next level, right? Want to do more about it. And this is exactly all these big authors are doing, like Seth Godin, the Simon Sinek. They put out a lot of free
Hmm.
information they can just churn out. I mean, you and I can churn out information like that. This is what we are doing in this session for the past 35 minutes, right? We're
Yeah.
churning out this information, and we don't have a script written or anything, but this is what it is. This is a lot of information which people can use and improve themselves. You've talked about marketing, and we can spend hours on branding and marketing techniques and all that, and LinkedIn techniques. And so all that is available for free. But if somebody is looking for a business, like I mean, you have a niche that you are really catering to. And what I loved about your strategy is you're building that trust level. And this is what we discussed right in the beginning. You have to build that trust level. Don't sell things like £5 is, you can do a lot of £5 business if you build that trust and you don't sell it right away.
Mm.
And this is also an assumption. So I learned it like several months ago. um, the people assume things. So, I would assume certain things, by looking at a post, which may not be true. Yeah. So when I started this whole consultancy business, and coaching business came later on, I was expecting, and this was my assumption, that I had been doing it pro bono for years literally in those 10 countries I worked. I would walk into universities, I would be invited by these group of people to come and talk about LinkedIn and career development. I would just go and do it. But when I started monetizing it, I thought, people will appreciate the like more senior people in the marketplace would appreciate me because this is what I had been doing. And one of the things that I usually, tell people, I think I have a very distinct uh, kind of a niche because I've worked in 12 countries, and I've worked with
Yeah.
12 nationalities and ethnicities and religious people with different religious beliefs. That is the real essence of my knowledge that I bring in. So, anyways, this guy who was like very famous with a lot of following and things, I sent him a DM. Yeah, I said, this is what I do for business. Can you help me? Can we collaborate in some way? He never responded. I said, fine. And I think, couple of weeks down the line, I sent another DM. I said, I sent you this thing, and he sent me a very rude response, by the way. And after that, he actually blocked me.
Mm.
So I think he was assuming that I actually need something different. Like, he was just assuming it, and I was being very like transparent and saying, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Can you help me? I mean, I'm newbie. I haven't done it as business, but I know everything. I know all that I've been doing for years. Can you help me? But he blocked me. That's fine. You know what? And I keep saying this, in my coaching session. If people don't connect with you, no worries. There are 800 million people on LinkedIn.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If,
I mean,
if
just really quickly, one of the big things for me, in the last year is I used to have a very set idea about who I should connect with on LinkedIn that were relevant to me. And a lot of people talk about relevancy. And my connections were all fellow marketers or recruiters who worked in the marketing space, that I thought could help land me that next opportunity. But in this last 11 months, I've connected with people from such a range of sectors. And it really has been one of the best parts of the last year. I've learned so much more about other people's vocations and ways of working. But also, I think the beauty of it is when you're launching a marketing consultancy business, those people will know a lot fewer consultants in marketing than people who work in marketing. So you have the opportunity to reach a completely different audience that will have a network, and those people will have marketers in it or people who need marketing consultancy. So I think there is an element of don't treat your LinkedIn network like a walled garden. And I think a lot of people do that. They're very particular. I certainly was pre-March 2020. If I got a request out of left field, I would just probably ignore it. But my whole attitude has changed. I mean, if you saw me on LinkedIn pre-March 2020 and now, pre-March 2020, I probably posted 10 times a year if I was lucky. And as I said before, all those posts were all about me celebrating achievements or promoting whatever business I was working for at the time. And the paradigm shift for me is this realization that LinkedIn isn't a broadcast platform. It's a community and a social network. And, if you add value for other people, then you will see that value come back to you in return.
Absolutely. And this is like, we keep debating, and a lot of people debate, whether branding should take higher weightage in this whole effort, or the marketing should take higher weightage. And I'm with branding, because branding to me is the pull factor. Branding pulls people toward you, whereas on marketing you have to do a lot of push factor. And there has to be a combination. There has to be a balance, as you rightly said. And it's again,
Yeah.
going back to the same point. Your sorry, Duncan, you build that trust level that people are now connecting with you, which is more important. So when I started kind of working from a very different tangent, the way you did, and I actually started monetizing it also, like it was, well, technically December 2019, but soon we were in COVID, right? Uh, but I grew from 6,000 connections to close to 28,000 connections, and 30, close to say 32,000 followers, because I've shut down the connection part of it because I can't take any more. Um, so so this is really, really important. You will build your connections if you
Yeah.
start giving value. So what are some of the things, like, maybe, so let's open this for questions also. So if you have any questions, please ask. This is your opportunity. Next 10 minutes, maybe, or 15 minutes, while Duncan and I keep chatting, uh, please ask questions, and we will take your questions and we will try to respond, both of us jointly. And this is again a very informal discussion. We really want to tell people our story, Duncan's story, and my story. How did we grew? How did we? And we're still behind. Like, there are people in my network who have like uh, 800,000 following, for instance, right?
Yeah.
A million followings. That's fine, but they started like maybe much more earlier, and they have a very different domain. But people can
Yeah.
actually do that.
I mean, the key thing in terms of growing networks for me, I mean, I've made around 3,500 connections in the last 11 months, and that's by connecting with people who've reacted and commented to my posts. So I found that that's been a really easy route in to connect with a lot of people, because there's already that kind of, reciprocity there, because they've already liked one of my posts. And the logic stands that if they like one of my posts and what I have to say, then they might like more of them. So it's an easy way to kind of grow your network and grow that engagement.
Absolutely, and it's all about engaging with people. So I'm not sure, Munawara, who you want to connect with. So if you can explain in the comment, we would love to connect. I'm sure Duncan would love to connect with
Yeah,
everyone who
absolutely.
is
Happy to connect with
commenting.
anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you have any specific question, you can always add that question in comment, and we have another about 10 minutes to go. Um, and this was a young man I was coaching yesterday.
Mhm.
I said, you have to build a product, keep giving what you're giving, but if you're spending too much time on something, then you have to, I mean, your time should not go wasted, right? You know, we should really charge for that time, be it like very small amount of money, but a token amount really helps. So he's asked targeting markets like Pakistan, India, modern always pick. Not really, not really. I know in South Asia people are charging as much as, well, in terms of their rupees, 20 to 25,000 rupees per hour for consultation. Yeah. So okay, that may be a lot of money from that. It's like 100 pound in British terms. Yeah, about 100 pound. So it's about how do you price your product. You can still sell a Suzuki, small Suzuki in the same market, and the same market uh, has an appetite for Jaguar also. Yeah, so you have to identify that market when you're marketing. So that's a very uh,
Mm.
basic lesson that we marketeers learn right at the beginning. Your market segmentation is really important. What is the market that you really want to target? And this Ayu, if you remember, Ayu said that she actually charged a very like token amount when she was doing her training session, and this was like packed training session. She only charged like $10 for that master class, like I think it was like couple of hours webinar, and she had 100 people joining in. So think about it. She actually built that trust to that level that people were willing, and they were like all students willing
Mm.
to pay her $10 uh, to join the class, and it was like she could only take 100 for this Zoom webinar. So market segmentation. What do you say about that? I mean, you are a top level marketeer. How do you define that?
Well, I think the key thing, is to find your audience, and I think we're all still learning, on that journey. I think it's, we're all kind of evolving here, but I think the principles are the same. I think if you add value for your immediate network, that they will be the bridge that will help you to reach whichever audience you're going for. So, in terms of my consultancy business, for example, I'm targeting kind of small to medium businesses in the UK, and I've worked with bigger corporates as well. But you need to have that level of engagement to kind of generate that visibility. And that's where I think a lot of people with LinkedIn go slightly off course, because they look directly at saying, I've got to find my target customer, and everything they write and post is just purely aimed at their target customer. But there's nothing for your wider network to grip onto, to hang on to. And I think it's all about that balance. If you can post some things that are of value to a wider audience, then, as I said before, I think they'll support you in the stuff that's more kind of promotional and trying to acquire those customers. But I think,
Yeah.
hashtags on LinkedIn are a massive tool. In terms of tuning you've got a message that's specific. I mean, I did a post today that was targeted towards SMEs in the UK. So there were certain hashtags I used: entrepreneurship, SME, that would aim it at that particular audience. So I think it's about having that balance, but knowing how to point your content at the right audience at the right time.
Absolutely. It's all about, as I say, it's all about relevance and targeting. If you
Yeah.
are out there and if you're not relevant, people would not. I mean, Duncan was relevant to me. I was relevant to Duncan because, we both love LinkedIn, and we both are doing something on LinkedIn for LinkedIn and for our communities. So if you join that cause, so we joined that cause together, right? This is how we decided to do this live. So it's a cause. Uh, I think human being generally is, again, people may get offended, but the reality is we are generally greedy. We like to get. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. I think
yeah,
the perception is always what's in it for me.
yeah,
That's people's initial instinct to everything,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
have to really park that attitude and just say, I want to give to people, and add that value. And what you find is the less you actually think transactionally. In my own case, the less I've thought transactionally and about business, clients come. They will
Oh
come.
yeah,
It's a difficult time. It's a pandemic. This is a challenging time to launch any business, but I think you're laying the groundwork here in terms of your kind of brand perception. Your biggest brand advocates are your network. You know, they're the people you interact with every day. They're going to be, you know, they can be a virtual sales team for you, but the reality is you've got to add value for them, you know, and make them appreciate, you know, being a part of your network. So it's always about that balance. I've said it too many times, but it's a virtuous circle on here. The more you give out, the more you'll get back.
Oh yes, and this is a comment is in our community. Some accept us, some don't. I think this is absolutely right. And as I said, you know, there are 800 billion people out there. If few people don't accept you, that's fine. Maybe your targeting is not right, and maybe they are not that active. So, and
Oh,
there's always a way to do it. Sorry, Duncan. There's always a
you
way to
can't
do it.
please, you can't
No,
please everybody. I mean, that's the
absolutely.
reality, and that's a challenge with LinkedIn. And I mean, I've got a great example. I did a video saying I've launched my new website for my consultancy business, and I said, please can I have comments? It would be great. Just let me know what you think of the website. And I had 98% of the comments were incredibly positive, and I had 2% from marketing people who questioned a few things. And you become so focused on the 2% and you almost forget the 98%. And it's all about realizing that you just cannot please everybody. But if you're doing enough of the right things with the right intention, and I think that's a key thing, like my through line, my thread through all of this was being, how can I help people in this exceptional time? And I think that's, you know, that kind of trumps everything in terms of the reciprocity and people wanting to support you because they know you've been doing things for the right reasons. Certainly those that have been connected with you long enough.
So good. Munawara is now. I don't know why she couldn't find the. And I got all her messages through LinkedIn, so I'm not sure what was happening. So, anyways, I tagged her, and she now is. So, do you have a question, Munawara, for Duncan and myself about LinkedIn? And anybody has any question? We have maybe 5 more minutes before we move towards close. We originally thought about 30 to 45 minutes, but I think the discussion is so enriching and rewarding for me also, Duncan, with all these
Yeah.
thoughts. I think we can go on for hours if we break it down. So I think my take always is to stay relevant, stay engaged, and just just like stay open hearted. Like, you know, people may accept you, people may not accept you, people may curse you also. So I mean, obviously I have to put food on the table, and some of my services are paid services, and um, I do a bit of marketing also about those services, and some of my posts are directed towards that marketing. uh, and some people don't like it. I mean, the thing is that's fine, but the thing is that those who are interested in moving to the next level, and they if they need help, they would come back
Mm,
to me. And exactly
mm,
what happened like yesterday, and I was not really expecting it. You know, there was a small comment from someone from the Gulf states. So and you know, I thought probably, you know, this person is just, you know, you get too many comments anyways in inboxes.
yeah.
So, but I said, okay, fine. You know, I gave the next level of advice. Okay, this is what
Mm,
you should really be doing. Next day, she came back to me and she actually paid for my services. She really wanted to get it done.
that's good.
So, so this is how people will start to valuing you, and this is how business will start trickling in. But again,
Mm,
the bottom line is you have to build that trust to the level. And this is exactly what you're doing with your exciting
mm,
research. And by the way, I also do research, and I also use very conventional methods like a spreadsheet
mm,
in tracking the comments and all those things that we track on
mm,
LinkedIn. But you know, if we have those KPIs and if we know exactly what kind of posts are performing better and where the
mm.
people are kind of more interested, then you can redefine your scope.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, some of the key things for me recently, you know, I produced a post this week about the LinkedIn Circle, which is a kind of codification that I did, where it's three really kind of simple principles. So, you know, the first one is kind of add value, with your content, for your audience. That's kind of basic principle. The second one is respect their time, and I think
Yeah.
that's a key thing. I've realised that the more I use LinkedIn, I did a poll last year and I asked people, what's the primary method that people use to access LinkedIn, and 66% said mobile phones.
Yeah.
And you've got to be conscious of the fact that if you're on a mobile phone, you're not going to have hours to consume things, and everything has to be tuned to that mobile audience. So if I'm writing a text post, it's a short capitalized headline, lots of space between sentences, and try and keep sentences as short as possible. We all know when we're scrolling through the newsfeed, the biggest turn off for me is I see a post with 3 big paragraphs, and you just think, I haven't got the time or the inclination to read this. And it goes to, when you talk about document posts as well, I produce a lot of mine on Canva, and I'm doing a guide around this as well. And the key thing for me is just really basic things like choose the LinkedIn post format, which is 1200 by 1200 pixels, because on your mobile phone, it looks great. And then, when you're doing font sizes, you don't want your font size to drop much below 40 because you want it to be readable on a mobile. And I think, everyone should be thinking kind of mobile first. But yeah, and then the last bit of the circle, we just reward their attention. And I think that comes back to, when I've got that connection, because I've, obviously posted some content that they found value in and they've connected with me, it's can I add value for them as quickly as possible to reinforce that relationship. And so I found that sending them that guide, has really helped to kind of to drive my personal engagement. But I think LinkedIn is always evolving. Your approach to LinkedIn has to evolve.
Yeah.
I've kind of grown my network through an audience of people who are open to work, job seekers, and there will come a time, thankfully, where we will be out of this kind of pandemic, and there won't be people looking for work as much. So that you've got to evolve your kind of messaging and your approach. And I think if I look back over the last year, my approach has already changed. I was posting about things like interviews and tweaking CVs. Now, as a consultant, I don't really feel it's as appropriate for me to talk about that kind of thing. But I have talked a lot about LinkedIn because, as I mentioned before, I think getting to grips with LinkedIn is the kind of universal thing that we all want to know about. So that has had the biggest traction. But I mean, you touched on the kind of commerciality and promoting your business, and I'm going to have to kind of try and tune more of my messaging to that kind of audience and say, how do I reach SMEs? What are the kind of things that they value? And I'm prepared, I'm well aware that's not going to be as valuable to people who are currently open to work, and, they're not going to be as engaged in it. And I think we can get overly hung up on just the pure engagement numbers. And you're saying, oh, well, this post got, 10,000 views and this post got 1,000. But, is the question is it the who, not the view? In the end, is that 1,000, if you targeted it right with the right, hashtags and went out to the right audience, is that a more valuable pool of people, or prospective clients for you? So it's all about balance. And I think as long as you maintain that core principle of, I want to spend a lot of my time trying to share all of my learns as a marketer to help other people, then hopefully they will go with you on the journey. But if they don't, you just have to adapt and it's building again. But at least the principles of building an audience, and that is just about adding value, for that segment, and being prepared to give away, some of your trade secrets to build credibility and trust, as you've talked about.
Absolutely. You nailed it. And believe me, there is no trade secret. All this information is
Everything.
available.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
available. It's just
yeah.
people don't know how to access it, and
Yeah.
they're too lazy.
But
So,
also, and I
yeah,
also, sorry to cut across
yeah,
you, but I think you talked about branding and whether branding is more important than marketing. And I think it absolutely is, in terms of, for me on LinkedIn in the last, 11 months, purpose is everything. So having a clearly defined purpose and a reason to be on there, I've been very supportive of the job seeker community because I've been part of it, for the best part of a year. And I continue to do that because, that's a founding principle of why I was on there and what I want to be known for in terms of helping people. So I think people can sniff out kind of inauthenticity on LinkedIn very quickly. And I think it comes back to that point that if you make it more transactional and it's all just about business, then you will lose that kind of goodwill and engagement that you've built up.
absolutely. So, No, I keep saying no because my thought process is just moving too fast. But again, ultimately, you have to be out there every day and be seen by people. There will be different kind of people for different posts, so you have to mix and match and try to analyze, as you said right in the beginning. You have to have your own analytical process in place of some sort. It could be very simple analytical process, and see what kind of post you're getting more traction. And Glenn actually asked this question, and I think this is a very good question. So I'll just give you a quick response to this. If your connections are relevant, if you're getting relevant connections, that means you're doing the right thing on LinkedIn. And if you're appearing in search and you're targeting the keywords in the search, not many people use it though, but it's a very, very useful tool to see if you are targeting the right searchable keywords in your profile or not. Extremely essential, because people who do not know you, if they are doing search, if you're like adding a query and they land on your profile, they are the people who might be coming back to you for some business. Remember that, because they are the people who are looking for that information. And this one top 1% thing is, I mean, I get it all the time, and I get it for some of the posts. I don't see a lot of engagement, but
Yeah.
there may be a formula behind it. So we don't know. LinkedIn's algorithm is a top secret. They don't share exactly what is
Yeah.
happening.
Someone said to me, and I don't know if this is true, don't quote me on it, but it's about second and third degree levels of engagement on your post. So the more second and third degree you get, you'll get that 1%. But I'm like you, I've had kind of 1% notifications, and then I look at the engagement on the post and go, well, this is
Yeah,
probably numerically one of my worst performers. But who knows, if
yeah,
that's based on, an algorithm that says that post hit a really specific relevant audience to you, then you've just got to take it. But I also think there's an element of LinkedIn that so much is unknown that we hang a huge amount of value on what is the view count we're getting, what is our SSI score,
yeah,
and we put so much stock in that. But the reality is, are you getting clients? Are those engagements coming along? Is it generating opportunities? And there's so much more than just looking at the numbers. I get so many people who use LinkedIn the way that I did pre-March 2020, and they'll say, I'm seeing all your posts. They're just not
yeah,
engaging on them because that's not the way that they use the platform. So for every, however many 10 likes you get, there will be another 100 people that are looking at it and
yes,
not engaging. So,
yeah.
it's all just, it just scales up really.
Yeah, just to add to this point, I think we are already an hour in the session. We'll close it in a while, but the discussion is so interesting. So one of my friends who works at Google, he said the rule of thumb, and it may have changed over the years. So it was like 3 4 years ago when he told me that if 10 people are engaging on your post, 700 at least have seen your post. 700. So this is the
Well, we,
mark.
we know from the view count. I mean, we know from
Yeah,
the view count. I did a post today. When I last looked at it, it had kind of 15,
yeah,
15 likes, 10 comments,
yeah.
and it's got, it had about 800 views at that point.
Yes,
So
yes,
if a view on a text post is to be believed, then people are seeing it. But I
yeah,
mean, Hamad, you will know this better than I will. But a view of a text post seems to be a highly contentious issue because there's so little clarity on what that actually
yeah,
means. Does
yeah,
it mean a post has been pushed into your feed, and then you could have swiped right past it, not seen it, but it's still a view because it was
yeah.
in your eye line? Or is it, are you actually spending any dwell time there? And I know for video, it's 3 seconds of
Yes.
video view is value,
Yeah.
seen as a view. But it's a tricky one. I mean, for me, because I mobile optimize all of my content.
Hmm.
So my videos have always got subtitles. My carousels are always
Yeah.
very clear. You don't need to click in to see anything. I think I'm probably losing out on what you would class engagement numbers because people are not having to physically click in to watch my post if they don't want to. So, you could watch one of my posts in the feed without clicking on the post because it's just
Yeah.
all set up and ready to go. But I think that is the trade-off you've got to make in terms of saying you've got someone, there's a finite level of attention that they've got. And it's that whole thing about respecting their time. If you put a video out there and you don't have subtitles on it and someone clicks in and thinks, well, that was of no value to me, you're not helping your re-engagement chances.
Absolutely. And I can be blamed for not having subtitles because I am lazy at the moment, but I know as soon as I put subtitles, the video views will go up because a lot of people don't, they use headphones. If they're looking at scrolling it in the office, they can't turn on the phone. So I think what we can conclude here is that you have to be out there, be seen. You have
Yeah.
to have a strategy. Uh, 800 million people, and LinkedIn is growing phenomenally. It's a place where you can communicate with people on a one-to-one basis. The only platform where you can actually communicate with people on one-to-one basis. Uh, the other thing is 55 million companies out there, and LinkedIn's current data says 24 million job opportunities, and a lot of B2B and B2C opportunities. The opportunities are out there. If we can't open the door and if we don't step in the room, we would not know what kind of opportunities are out there waiting for us to grab. So, with that, Duncan, thank you very much for your valuable 1 hour for your community, for my community, and I'm sure people will watch this video later on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, and will connect with you and me and comment here also. Um, let's try to maybe become like more regular in some kind of series. I'm actually thinking of, while talking to you, we can actually develop some kind of a half an hour series of things. We can pick something up, discuss it, so that it keeps reminding people to do things on LinkedIn. We can discuss posting and what kind of content, how do you build network, to people. Rather than people searching for it, we should really be providing that input, so we can talk offline about it. And we have I have a full day from now on until 8 p.m. I'm sure you are also quite busy, but thank you very much. I would encourage people who have joined us and who will watch this video later on to connect with Duncan. uh, Phenomenal information. I mean, it will become challenging for you to digest that kind of quality information that he puts out, but it's really, really valuable. I use it a lot for my own learning, and learning never ends. It ends only when you die, really. So you should keep
Absolutely,
learning.
it's a lifelong journey. We've got to
Yeah.
stay inquisitive. But no, I'd be really glad to connect with anyone. And if anyone is looking for pay-as-you-go marketing consultancy or copywriter support, you can obviously find me on LinkedIn. But my website is paygmarketing.co.uk. So have a look at that, and it'd be great to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Duncan, and we'll connect later on offline. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks.
Thanks. You too. Cheers.
Bye bye. All right then, LinkedIn family. I'm sure it was an enriching session. I mean, it was long. It was more than an hour, but I'm sure you had enjoyed it. Please connect with Duncan and myself, and if you have any questions, please DM us, and we will be happy to respond. With that, Hamas Siddiqui signing off from Toronto. You all have a wonderful